Welcome back on the channel, my friends. So take a look at this. Pump is doing quite well since late June. It hit the bottom here at around 11 cents, something like that, and now it's rallying and it's already 130% up since then. And this is what I told you earlier this year when I made a few videos about infrastructure tokens. You don't need to try to find the next meme. Definitely not if you're a newcomer to crypto. All you need to do is just find infrastructure tokens, have a little patience, buy the dip, and wait for them to rally. And this has been going on for the past 47 days. This uptrend seems to be quite organic. There's probably going to be a correction at around here as we come close to these previous resistance points. But the main thing you need to understand is that infrastructure tokens, they are tied up with on-chain utility. Pump is a launchpad on Solana, right? And knowing that Solana is the meme coin blockchain, it only makes sense to think that it's going to do well over time. If this would be some other tokens, a random meme, something like that, it would bleed out from all-time high and go to zero over time. Infrastructural tokens are different. As long as the chain survives and there's activity on it, just the simple fact that Solana goes up, it will drive this token back along with it because it's infrastructure for the chain. Now, I'm not saying there is no risk in all of this. Of course, there's going to be risk. I mean, if you're buying here at around 20 cents, which is already fairly low for Pump, and then you see it dropping 50%, I mean, it's not going to see something pleasant to experience unless you're bullish about the token and you have some understanding of what it offers and some trust in it, that it will reverse this downtrend. So this uptrend movement started the past 25th of June. Let's go ahead and compare this with Sol. Okay, so here it is, June the 25th. Sol isn't doing all that good compared with Pump, right? So that uptrend on Pump, it's not directly influenced by Solana. Also have in mind that the team behind Pump, they set up last year regular buyback of their own token with the fees that the platform generates. Now the platform itself, it's not used as heavily as before, and so it's also not generating as much fees as before, but nonetheless, it's a big platform. So you see, this is one of those examples where I tell you, diversify. If you want to be invested on the Solana ecosystem, sure, allocate 80% of your portfolio on a Solana USDC liquidity pool, and then you can go ahead and invest 20% on a Pump Solana liquidity pool, for example. That would be an easy way to diversify while keeping your portfolio exposed to big players in the Solana ecosystem. Now, another token you could use to do this with is Orca. So let's take a look here. Orca Sol is a good pool. If you're a beginner, go with Orca USDC because it's fairly stable. Only half of your money will be exposed to this volatile asset. Although I do think Orca and Sol is also a really good pair to yield farm. Now Orca right now it's pretty much flat. So we're chopping sideways. It's a good thing, although it's not yielding all that much because there's not all that much trading activity, not a lot of volume. It's smooth sailing, but the yield is not actually there. And by the way, Orca did also announce a buyback strategy in the last year, so it could be potentially also a good token to do this strategy with. Have a liquidity pool, have some exposure on the upside, compound while it's flat, and potentially we can see some uptrend that in the future can lead to 50% or even more price appreciation. So let's zoom out. For example, this moment here at the 11th of June, interesting one. So how much did it went up here? 30-40%, really good one. Even if it's only 20%, it's already a good point in time to take profits. Nonetheless, Orca is another of those examples of an infrastructure token, in this case on Solana. But there's other chains where you can use the same approach. For example, let's move on to BNB and see what's happening there. Okay, so moving here on the screener, let's go on the Binance Smart Chain. Let's see where the volume is right now. So there's some memes here, but I'm trying to find here because this is pretty much the equivalent of Pump.fun, but on the Binance ecosystem. So it's also on an uptrend, although probably not as long as the one we saw on Pump. I've been yield farming this pool for the past few months or so. It's not crazy volume, but this is the moments where I've been like taking profits when it pumps like 20-30%. I exit, I wait for it to cool off, and then I re-enter. And right now, my main position is out of range or very close to that. The price is like 5% below my upside range, but still, we see a nice rally here at around, again, 30-40%. So you see two examples. You don't have to dig a lot and try to find the next 10x meme. As long as you stick around infrastructure, reliable launchpads, reliable dexes, you can even go in and buy in Cake right now. Of course, this is not financial advice, but Cake is a good token. I like Cake a lot. So what we have here with Cake USDT, let's go with this one. It's a 3 years old liquidity pool, you see? Probably there's even older ones than this. But this is a token which is backed by Binance. The same thing with 4. It's Binance that is behind those tokens, right? So they might drop 50-70%, but they're eventually not going to die out. In the long run, if you position yourself right, you will reap the rewards. For example, you see this massive dump here? This is prime time to buy it. This is 25% drop in price, but from there on, it's already back in at 25% up. Of course, I'm not saying to time the market and try to find the bottom and sell at the top. That's not going to be an easy feat to do. I don't do that personally. I just buy in when I see these infrastructure tokens dropping like 10, 15, 20% overnight. That's the time I buy in. Eventually, it will bottom out, it will bounce back up, and then you take profits. Although it goes without saying, I don't bet the house on it. Buy when it goes down, and hopefully there will be this bounce back that in the future allows us to take profits. At the same time, if you are yield farming these pools, when you see like this massive volatility, either up or down, you will generate a lot in fees. Of course, the best case scenario is when you see something like this bouncing back up. Let's say you enter here the next day, even if we are still down here at around this in price, the volatility generated so much in fees that likely you are in profit or breaking even. If it keeps dropping, don't expect the fees to offset the loss that the asset experienced. So for example, if we see the price just dropping like this and not bouncing back or just sticking here at the bottom, the fees that we made, they will not be enough for us to break even. We have to wait for an uptrend, but this is the moment to compound back in or deposit some more. That's why earlier I told you, when I see these 10%, 15% drops overnight, I buy in. I deposit more in liquidity pools. You can use these liquidity pools to just grow your position over time, especially if you're going with wide ranges, like something at around 40%. If you're doing that and if you're starting with small amounts, you should be depositing into those LPs often. If you're not, you can still work with it and sell when you see price hitting these resistance points, like so. For example, here I would sell, here I would sell, here I would sell, and then I would buy back in the pool at these moments. Here, of course, it's going to be wishful thinking. So for example, we never know where the bottom will be, but I would buy at these support levels. You see, there's a support level here. So if the price hits it, I'll buy. So in here, it keeps dropping, but there's more support levels here. So I would buy more here, more here. You get the idea. Eventually, if you have patience, the tides will turn because these are infrastructure tokens. PancakeSwap is among the safest DEXs out there, and hopefully nothing will happen when it comes to hacks or bugs or whatever. We never know, this is still very new technology, but I rather have my money in these infrastructure tokens than just trying to find the next meme. All right, guys, so these are just a couple of examples. Cake or 4 on the BNB chain, good tokens to hold, good liquidity pools to yield farm on. On Solana, it would be, of course, a Solana liquidity pool or Orca or Pump, either paired with a stable or with Solana itself. But you'll have more exposure to volatile assets if you're pairing it with Solana, because if the price goes down for both assets, you will see the value of your LP just drop substantially. I'm just making this note because if you're new to all of this and you try it out and then you see that happening and you're not really sure of what you're holding, you probably will panic and you'll sell and you locked that in permanent loss. You bought at a higher price, you sold at a lower price, essentially you lost money. Liquidity pools, as I see it, you can trade with them, of course, yeah, but they're meant for the long term. As time moves on, you can harvest your yield every day, every week, every month. You take part of the fees, compound back in. It's up to you, but put something back in if you're playing it for the long run. And you will see that the power of compounding will shine when the markets move, and then all of your liquidity gets turned in USDC because the price moved up. At that point, you can just choose to liquidate the position, close it. You did a successful trade essentially. You have more fiat than you started with. Plus, every time that you harvested, you were already taking 50% of that in profits. So you see, this is why I like yield farming so much. In the long term, it will work out. You don't need to find the next 10x, 100x meme. Yield farm infrastructure tokens, those are the most reliable assets. You'll get a feeling of how yield farming works. So yeah, this is what I wanted to share with you on this one. If you have any questions, drop a comment down below. That being said, guys, thank you for watching. Take care. Keep exploring crypto. I'll see you on the next one.